Hello, minions. Welcome back to another day. It's another week of streaming. Fragilitis, thank you for following. Welcome to the Rose Rabbit Army. So nice to have you here. Today, we are starting the final case of the first Great Ace Attorney game. As we know, the new English release for the game. Oh, and Eros Valentina. Well. Hello. If you don't know, minions, Eros Valentino is the very same who did the wonderful art from the announcement tweet I made a little while ago for the stream. So you should all thank them for helping me show off my legs. um, you're kissing me right now? Well, that's impossible because I'm over here and you're over there. And you're the caveman and I'm the sheriff. As I was saying, we're starting the final case tonight, and I am very intrigued by where this final case will go. Cask had mentioned it's murder time, but last case wasn't even murder at all. So, who knows? Who knows? It might not even be murder this time, though. That would be, I guess, kind of anticlimactic for a final case in a traditionally murder mystery series. Caskin is the murderer? Gotta shoot him. Sorry. Anyways, let's get in there. Let's get in there. Let's get all up in Ryunosuke's face. Let's get in his brain. Let's get in. Let's imagine ourselves in his place. Yes. Episode 5: The Adventure of the Unspeakable Story. Oh, it's the Hound of the Baskervilles. Cool.
It's coming.
Very famous Sherlock Holmes story. No relation to this game's Sherlock Holmes' original detective character.
Breathlessly in the stillness. The silence lasted for what seemed an eternity until, at last, it appeared. From the shadows of the cloud, an enormous beast sprang out upon us. A hound it was, but not such a hound as any mortal has ever seen. Its eyes glowed with a smoldering glare. The whole
spooky.
of its ox-sized body was outlined in white-hot flames.
It's huge and spooky. Oh no.
Its rumbling pant and hideous howl, so terrified was I that I began to tremble with fear. Look well, Wilson, Sholmes declared, gazing upon the mystical beast.
Ox-sized, yes. That is a huge dog.
This is the diabolical hound of the Baskervilles.
So Arrow said they've never played any Ace Attorney games. The Great Ace Attorney is a sort of spin-off series. The regular Ace Attorney games take place in modern day. The Great Ace Attorney games, you play as, I guess it would be Phoenix's great-great-grandfather, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, who is a Japanese student around the turn of the 20th century, who travels to London, and he hangs out with Sherlock Holmes because the Conan Doyle estate loves to just hang on to those last few stories that aren't in the public domain yet. And those, according to them anyways, those last few Sherlock stories are the ones where he becomes a nicer guy. So you're allowed to adapt Sherlock as a jerk and still use the Sherlock name, but if he's a nicer guy who respects women, then that's the one they still own. It's very funny, and we should obliterate copyright law. So the name Sherlock Holmes comes from an Arsène Lupin story, the original Arsène Lupin, not the anime one, written by Leblanc, who lived at the same time as the original writer of Sherlock, Arthur Conan Doyle. And he asked Conan Doyle, I'm writing books about a master thief, and Conan Doyle, you're writing a book about a master detective. What if we had a little fun little crossover rivalry? And Conan Doyle was like, no, don't talk to me ever again, Frenchman. So LeBlanc was just like, okay, I'm going to put him in anyways, and I'm going to name him Sherlock Holmes. And that was the end of that. Yes, it was an OC swap. The original OC swap, which was declined. And yeah, so that's what the Herlock Sholmes name is a throwback to. Detective versus criminal AU. Yeah, that's what it was. I don't think they had the bravery in the early 1900s to make it homoerotic as it should have been, but we live in the modern day, where we can do that within the Ace Attorney series. Excuse me, I have to get my reading voice on. Our first 2 months in London passed by in a flash. In that disconcerting courtroom experience we were first thrown into on the day we arrived in the country, and in Soseki-san's terrible ordeal that had followed closely behind, we had emerged victorious. However, there then came an abrupt end to our opportunities to appear in court, which was hardly surprising, of course, since I was nothing more than an amateur, an unknown student of law from a faraway land. So life in our little office was very quiet. That is, until it was shattered one day by that fateful telegram. The 15th of April, 9:13 a.m., Naruhodo's legal consultancy. That morning, I was woken by the unreserved knocking on the door by the telegram boy. But after he'd gone, Susato-san's behavior became very obviously strange. It is a cozy office. At the end of the last case, little recap, I guess, Herlock Sholmes gratefully offered to let Naruhodo live in his place at 221B Baker Street, in the second floor where they can start up a legal office. Yes! Is it time to leave for court already? Let me see. What case is it today? I don't think I'm scheduled to defend anyone at the moment, am I? Oh, no, of course not. How silly of me. But I think Iris said she would make us breakfast this morning. So shall we go down to Mr. Sholmes' suite? Yes. Iris makes the most delicious breakfast food. She does, doesn't she? And once our bellies are full, we can leave for court in fighting fit form. Let me see. What case is it today? Here we go again. I see Eris Valentino has gained access to my emotes. Make good use of them. So, what was it about? The telegram that was delivered this morning, I mean. Hack the system, have you? I'm in. Oh, a telegram? I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, but you're not going to get away with that. Well, I didn't think I would. Actually, don't give it a moment's thought. It's nothing. Nothing interesting. Boring, in fact. That's the face of someone who just read something boring. It was just a boring old telegram. That's 3 times now that she's tried and failed to convince me it was nothing. I promise that I'll tell you about it at some point. Alright, I understand. The last case we met, what was his name? What was his last name? Soseki? I don't remember his other name, but he was a real historical Japanese novelist who spent time in England. I don't know about the part where he got accused of murder, but, or not murder, assault, I guess. Because the lady didn't die. But, yeah. He's a real guy who is in this game. Yes, I should think so. He left immediately after that terrible ordeal. Which would mean we should have completed the voyage already, or be just a few days away. A fortnight ago, we had that very long telegram from him, do you remember? Complaining of seasickness. But by and large, it seems the voyage has been going well. Is something wrong, Naruhodo-san? I was just wondering, what might have become of Soseki-san had he stayed in London, that's all. Oh, innocent bystander, thank you for the subscription. 9 months, very impressive. Your dedication to the Rose Rabbit Army is always appreciated. With your $5 a month, we get $5 closer to world domination. You mean, as regards Lord Van Zeeks, the Reaper? Yes, I can't help wondering if seasickness would have paled into insignificance in that case. The Reaper. What is it that they say? That no one who stands in the dock can be saved from the Reaper, right? Yeah, that guy burned to death after he was found not guilty. What a funny coincidence. Like the way that nightmarish trial ended on the very day we arrived in London. Even 2 months on, the cause of that dreadful fire is still a mystery. Yes, but at least Soseki-san is safely out of the country now. Presumably that means that the curse of the Reaper can only take effect within the confines of the city of London, perhaps? Even if that's the case, it's a little comfort. I have a terrible sense of foreboding. If the legend of the Reaper is believed, it would mean he wields the sword of justice himself. Come to think of it, I wonder what he's been up to these past 2 months. Surely not wielding that sword against more acquitted defendants. No, I don't think so. Apparently, Lord Van Zeeks hasn't appeared in court once since our last encounter. Oh? Yes, since Soseki-san's trial. He's withdrawn from judicial service again, it seems. Really? Just like before, when he wasn't seen in court at all for several years. So, it's just been me who's had to face him in his recent spate of trials, then. Ah, just my luck. I wonder if luck doesn't come into it. Sorry? What was that? Oh, nothing. Never mind. Susato-san sure doesn't want to talk to us today. Susato-san, take a look at my armband. It means a great deal to me, you know, that you cherish his armband so, and wear it each time you appear in court. Well, it's very important to me. It's what shows that I'm a lawyer. And whenever I wear it, I feel as though it gives me strength, through Kazuma. I absolutely can't be without it, especially when I'm at a critical point in a trial. But just the other day, I noticed you wearing it when you went to visit that park. Sometimes I forget to take it off. Okay, let's go to Sholmes' Suites. Just downstairs. Morning, Bruno. Morning, Susie. Good morning, Iris. Iris. What is it, Bruno? What is that terrible noise? It sounds like a cat being strangled. Oh, I do know what that sounds like, actually. Strangling a cat. Ah, yes. You noticed that, did you? Hurley isn't in the best form this morning, it seems. Please stop. Please stop. Oh no, he's so sad. Hello. Hello, Mr. Sholmes. Good morning. He's so gloomy. A good morning to die, perhaps. Has something happened, Mr. Sholmes? You look miserable, and the way you were playing the violin before. My analytical mind is dead. Music is dead. The world is dead. Damn this blanched existence! That's all it is, my dear fellow. Nothing of consequence. He's so gloomy today. What's his problem? I'm afraid I don't understand. Well, Iris, isn't it time we ate? Some dry toast and insipid coffee for me, if it's not too much trouble. Isn't that what British people eat every day anyways? Oh my god, I thought that was supposed to be him meowing for a second. I was so scared. Oh look, it's Wagahai. Good morning, boy. That must be some sort of tiny door for cats to use. But how did it get there? Well then, everyone, time for breakfast. Oh, wonderful. Let me help you, Iris. It would indeed be a fine day to die. I knew something looked different. Something's missing from Mr. Sholmes' desk. He looks so funny. Okay. Sholmes, can you take a look at my armband? Will that cheer you up? Mr. Sholmes, could I ask for your opinion about this? You lure me to raise my languid head with the promise of some mental exaltation. Yet in my morbid depression, I am confronted with the most mundane of problems. Oh. My mind finds greater stimulation in the unforgiving monotony of the floor than in your miserable offering. Always glad to help. Please don't say Herlock looks submissive and breedable. I'll snap. I'll do something terrible if you keep saying stuff like that. Oh, my head weighs heavy on my shoulders. What's your problem, buddy? Wanting to die. You seem to be very unhappy this morning, Mr. Sholmes. What's happened? It used to be the case that in my hands, this violin sung like the dawn chorus. Its mellowsonant tones would make flowers bloom. It would? But now, the muses are unamused with me. The goddesses of music have thrown me over. Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? For hours I have bowed, for days even. Through the night I have endeavored to no avail. That sound, my tone, is lost. That brilliant, clear, unwavering tone, gone forever! No more recitals of unbridled emotion! He seems upset. Well, you haven't been practicing much lately, have you, Hurley? Don't worry, I'm sure we'll come back to you in time. Heed my words, Mr. Naruhodo. Free Rebs, thank you for the follow. Yeah, she calls him Hurley. The goddesses of the arts are fickle. One day they bestow genius on a man, the next they are unmercifully withdrawn it. Oh dear. Ah, why is this happening to me? If they take the turn I have for the violin from me, what is left, for pity's sake? What is left? Deduction, perhaps? Isn't that what you've known for? Hang on. This is a screenshot I need to take. There we go. There we go. There's Free Ribs. Thank you for the subscription as well. I appreciate it. Sorry, I fell asleep. Sorry, I took a nap for a second. As I was saying, thank you for the subscription, Free Rebs. Every $5 gets me closer to having my face on every screen in the world, as it should be. Tell me about the missing machine. That giant thing you had on your desk last time, and it's gone now. Mr. Sholmes, I don't like to pry, but your desk looks rather empty today. Ah, well done, Miss Susato. I do deserve money. You're right, Free Rebs. You're absolutely right. In fact, let me pull something up here that I forgot to put on the screen a second ago. Where is it? If you continue to give me money, And $100 worth of money, in fact. I will play Nekopara Catboys Paradise, and we can objectify some catboys together. Oh no, Mr. Sholmes, they pale into insignificance when compared to yours. You'd struggle not to notice, wouldn't you? You mean Hurley's great analytoscope? That's at Windy Banks for now. Sorry, it's at a Windy Bank? No, Windy Banks, the pawnbrokery. What? You mean you've pawned that enormous machine of yours? It has some considerable value, you see. Quite undeservingly. But isn't it a very important machine for your work? I do wish you had consulted us if your situation had become so desperate. I should have gladly passed what little income I have to you. Dear madam, things are far from desperate. But the pawnbroker has your wonderful machine. How can it be anything but desperate? Making use of a pawnbroker is quite ordinary here in London, I assure you. It is. It doesn't sound ordinary at all. It would seem that neither of you fully understand how pawnbroking works. Oh, what's to understand exactly? Yeah, I'm sure there's many things Sholmes needs money for. Many habits. What did you mean when you said we didn't fully understand how pawnbroking works? To the people of London, pawnbrokeries are akin to banks. If you say so. Banks? On Mondays, merchants relinquish their finest jackets and trappings to the pawnbroker of choice. When the money they receive in return, they are able to trade happily through the week. And then on Saturdays, they go to recover their things using the money they've earned. Programming socks and blue hair dye is a hell of a habit. That's not quite... It's not quite the habits I'm referring to. My habits and Sholmes' habits are not the same. I had no idea. This has been a fascinating lesson for us. Everyone does it, you see, especially in inner London. And should they have money to spare, they would purchase another fine jacket. Not to wear, obviously, but to pawn, should the need arise. Oh, how ingenious! So whenever we have something that's getting in the way, we leave it at Windybanks, you see? This seems like a weird way to make money, but who am I to judge, I guess? I'm the one streaming for it. A pawnbroker can be thought of as an extremely secure vault. Who would have thought that even pawnbrokers are different than here in Great Britain? Of course, you have to watch Hurley with it. Sometimes he pawns things he really shouldn't. Don't you, Hurley? Oh, is that what happens? He pawned something he actually should have kept? That's why he's all sad. What does it matter? The world is dead to me now. It's a big old typewriter. This is Iris's side of the room, if you couldn't tell. Iris Wilson in this game is the one who writes down all the stories. Tell me about your cat. Mr. Natsume's cat seems to have settled into his new home, then. Oh, yes, and I've become very attached to little Waggy. It would appear his previous owners completely forgotten to him. Free Rabs, thank you for the $5. Why does Iris look like a steampunk Lalafell? I mean, she's 10 years old. That's why. Children look like Lalafells. Cats are unfeeling creatures. Their mews as empty as the hearts of the muses. Oh, I agree with this absolutely. Cats are just sociopaths, basically. If Mr. Natsume had no intention of taking Waggy back to Japan, I wonder why he kept him in the first place. I expect he would have taken him if he could. But pets are strictly forbidden aboard steamships in our experience. And for good reason. Terrible things can happen if the rules of passage are not obeyed. Well, I don't mind, because Waggy is adorable. Meow. Yes, he really is. Oh yes, what about the door? I don't remember seeing that tiny thing in the main door before. Where did that come from? Oh, you noticed? You are observant, Runo. I really don't appreciate you anglicizing our names like this, Iris. It's actually kind of insulting. It's got some weird connotations, Iris. Maybe you didn't think about it too hard. Look, I use this. It's my latest invention. What is that? I call it the cat flap-o-mat. The what? Gosh, a machine for making doors just for cats? That's right, it can make a cat flap for a little furry friend like Waggy in seconds. And it can do it into any door at all, no matter what it's made of. It's very powerful, you see. Wouldn't it have been quicker just to make the cat flap rather than making a machine to make the cat flap? Well, yes, maybe, but now I can make the cat flaps anywhere I like. Oh, I think it's wonderful. You must make one for us in the door of our office upstairs, Iris. She really knows how to come up with unconventional inventions, this girl. Oh no, it's upset. Oh, what was that? Wagai? Cats just break into your home and break all of your things. What was that? Oh no! Wagahai's tangled up in your violin! I think he thinks it's a toy! No! What's he doing to it? Oh dear, Mr. Sholmes' precious violin! Why should I care? What? I shouldn't be surprised if the cat is a more accomplished musician than I now. Chekhov's cat flap-o-matic. I don't know if I ever remember that trope of storytelling. Mr. Sholmes really is in poor spirits, isn't he? Well, anyway, I'll put it back where it lives, shall I, Hurley? Out of the cat's reach, if possible. Maybe we should assess the damage. Oh, wait, there's the violin. So this is the violin, is it? It's a Stradivarius, one of the finest violins in the world, made by the renowned Italian luthier, Antonio Stradivari. Oh, I see. It doesn't really look anything special to me. I happened upon it covered in dust, languishing in a pawn shop down a nondescript back alley. The broker had no idea of its value, so I was able to purchase it for a mere 55 shillings. How honorable of you. And until today, it has been my faithful companion in every great Paganini-inspired performance I have made. I ask you, is there a reason to live in a world devoid of music to tolerate this blanched existence? No! There is none! Oh, Sholmes didn't do that to the violin. A cat did. Mr. Sholmes. What, dear madam, what? My thoughts are preoccupied with fancies of release from this dull routine. Well, it's about the violin. It looks very different to normal, don't you think? Hmm? What do you mean, Mrs. Otto? Oh, Susie's right. Yes. The tone of the wood is completely different. And that's not all. I'm sure there was no crack here before. Wait, it's not even the right size, is it? What's this? Is that even a violin? Is it a viola? I'm terribly sorry to have to tell you this, Mr. Sholmes, but that instrument isn't a violin at all. Then what? I believe it's an entirely different instrument called a viola. What? What? He fell over. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, you're right. You are quite right. This isn't my faithful Stradivarius. So what, pray, is the piece of stringent flotsam? Not your faithful performing partner, then? Ah, I see what must have happened. You do, Iris? This is just a simple mix-up. It sounds like Iris might be able to tell us exactly what's happened if we ask her. Wait, where'd she go? Don't walk away from me. Come back. I need to ask you things. Tell me about this mix-up. What do you mean by a mix-up, Iris? Well, you see, this violin... Sorry, this viola, I mean... was at Windibank's until last week. At the pawnbroker's? Not Mr. Sholmes' beloved musical partner. There is a problem from the east, with which you are no doubt familiar, my fellows. Always let a beloved child travel. Yes, indeed. So you sent your beloved violin to the pawnbrokers in the hope it would experience personal growth? Oh, what a wonderful idea! Last week, I pawned my great analytoscope in order to release my precious instrument. But it would appear Mr. Windibank mistakenly furnished me with this tawdry fiddle instead. But my ears cannot be deceived by the hollow timbre of this piece of timber. No, but your every sense was deceived by the fact that it just had strings. Pshaw, a fine state of affairs this is, and why I always say, Mr. Naruhodo, never trust a pawnbroker. They will try to fiddle you every time. Haha, I'm making the puns. Woohoo, I'm a silly little man. But earlier you told us that you can think of a pawnbrokery as an extremely secure vault. Come, Mr. Naruhodo, dilly-dallying will get you nowhere. Sorry? Crunching your toast with that vacant aspect, fressing your coffee so obtusely. Are you not a little bit embarrassed by your own conduct, considering the urgency with which you are faced? We must visit Mr. Windibank's brokery at once. That's right, isn't it, Mr. Sholmes? Precisely, Miss Susato, without a moment's delay. But I haven't finished my bacon and eggs. My dear fellow, surely you do not still intend to crunch your bacon with an increasingly vacant aspect, to press your eggs over more obtusely? Alright, say no more, let's go then. Don't worry, Runo. I'd be happy to heat it up for you again later. I invented a microwave. Oh, thank you, Iris. As it happens, I am rather curious to see what a British pawnbroker's looks like. I hope nobody's been murdered in there. Alright. Let's go to the pawnbrokery. I feel like Windibank was a name from the Sherlock Holmes stories. I don't quite recall, though. The name Windibank sounds familiar. So this is a British pawnbrokery. Oh my, there are all sorts of tools and contraptions in here that I've never laid eyes on before. Ah, Susato-san. And that spark of wonder in your eyes. You can't wait to scour the shelves, can you? I get the impression you enjoy places like this. Oh yes, I don't know why, but seeing such a lot of things I don't understand is a real thrill for me. My dear fellows, let us not forget why we are here. Oh, Mr. Sholmes. We are calling on matters of business, not pleasure. And clearly, Mr. Sholmes means business too, judging from the spark of fury in his eyes. Ah, Mr. Sholmes, welcome back. Did you hear that brazen welcome? Well, yes, we are potential customers after all. We are disgruntled customers, Mr. Naruhodo, and it's time to inform Mr. Winterbank of our ire. Come! The fight is afoot. I don't know about fighting him. This guy doesn't look very fightable. Naturally, you will recall this, which I retrieved from you some days ago. Yes. This second-rate fiddle is not my faithful instrument, Mr. Winterbank. The color of the wood is different. It has holes in it. It's not even the same size. A wonderful summary of our observations, Mr. Sholmes. I'm so very sorry, sir. How utterly unforgivable of me. An inexcusable mistake for a pawnbroker. There's only one way to make amends. Oh god, where's he going? He's teleporting. Oh my god, what the fuck? No! What? No. Hang on. Hang on. We can talk about this, pal. I have to take my own life. Sholmes is like, yes, do it. Please. I don't think that will be necessary, do you? Please, please, man. Listen, I'm out to cause various forms of destruction, but this isn't one of them. If I may just say one thing before I pop off. He's popping off. Okay. Hang on. Oh my god. Yes? It was you, sir, Mr. Sholmes, who took it upon himself to remove the item the other day, I believe. Sorry? As I recall, I entered the storeroom to fetch your violin when I heard, here it is. You did? And when I turned to comfort you, you had taken the viola and left, sir. Then why is he feeling so suicidal? However, there can be no doubt that the blame lies firmly at my own door for allowing you to leave. So I shall not grumble or grouse any longer. May this guilt die with me. No, 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 no. Stop, my dear fellow. The fault is mine. Phew. I feel like we were just guilt tripped, like, super hard. It would appear the fight is over. I do humbly apologize, Mr. Winterbank. Evidently my questionable disposition precipitated this tragedy. Yeah, now he's gonna shoot Sholmes. Well, you wouldn't be Mr. Hulok Sholmes without that questionable disposition now, would you? Haha, I do believe you may be right, sir. Ha 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 ha! It's either laugh or cry, I suppose. You are, it must be said, one of my more challenging customers. I needn't remind you of the peculiar collection of items you brought through my door in the past. Oh, peculiar items? In the extreme, ma'am. For example, the unpublished manuscript of an eponymous work, the novels of Hulok Sholmes or some such. Oh my, a new full-fledged novel? An unpublished? A story I have yet to read, you mean? Forgive me! Wait, before you die, you must tell me more! I must know more, tell me everything! Wow, Susato-san is really fired up now. Is there really an unpublished story under this very roof? Well, one day the gentleman here brought in an old metal chest, you see. I should like to entrust this to your care for a while, Mr. Winterbank. For a chest like that, 1 shilling, sir. Not a farthing more. It houses something of very great value indeed. The latest manuscript, recounting the adventures of one Mr. Sherlock Holmes. I beg your pardon, a manuscript? You wish to deposit a manuscript? Indeed I do, for I am confident it will be quite safe here. And that was that. As such, Mr. Sholmes' latest tale of otherworldly mystery lies dormant in my storeroom. Mr. Sholmes? Oh, sorry. Sorry! I forgot to switch. Mr. Sholmes? Is that really true? Do I sense that someone doesn't want to talk about this? I continue to pay your fee, do I not? Then kindly continue to store my belongings securely. Of course, sir. Of course. They're safe and sound with me, I assure you, on my life. This is all very strange. I wonder, could I ask you something? Ah, a gentleman from the East, I see. Yes, that sable suit. I suppose I could offer you 6 pence for it. Without wishing to offend, the tone is somewhat dull. Sorry? Aha! But for your splendid attire, ma'am. 5 guineas, no less. The colors are exquisite, the design exotic. Eastern artistry at its finest, may I say. Oh my, 5 guineas, you say? How interesting. Why do I feel as though I've suffered some sort of defeat here? Actually, I was hoping to ask you about your business. I've heard it said that pawnbrokeries are used rather like banks here in London. Yes, sir, indeed. Many of my customers utilize the establishment as you describe. I appraise their items and offer them a proportionate loan and 2 months of secure storage. If, in that time, they repay the original sum to me plus the agreed interest, their items are happily returned. But what happens if they don't pay you the money? Then the items are offered for sale in my shop, as you can see on the shelves behind me. That's a weird way to use a pawn store. I've never heard of this. I've never heard of pawn stores being used like this. So you never sell items before the 2 months has passed, then? That's right, ma'am, that's right. Which means some considerable responsibility rests on my shoulders. Should a customer's precious belongings be lost, the only recompense is for me to end it all. The very idea, Mr. Windibank, is an absurdity. One should never talk of one's demise so casually. Says the man who was telling us all it was a good day to die this morning. And let us not forget that I have already helped you take measures to ensure such a tragedy never occurs. Oh, what sort of measures? I engineered a simple device which Mr. Windibank has installed here in his shop. I call it the Red-Handed Recorder. Is that not so, Mr. Windibank? What was that deep sigh about? Tell me about this stupid machine. What on earth is a red-handed recorder? Use your eyes, my dear fellow. There are just 2 below the ceiling. I can see what appears to be a camera attached to some sort of timing device. Very astute. It is indeed a camera, furnished with some 100 pieces of celluloid film. And every 30 minutes precisely, the camera automatically records the appearance of the shop. Here, I have an example I can show you. Ah yes, a fine print from the camera set to record the activity at the shop counter. I developed a special type of film so sensitive it produces a crystal clear image even in the darkness. Really? That's extraordinary. Yes, you can clearly see the counter and the door behind it, look. This was taken at 4 AM. I've got a feeling it's going to be evidence in some sort of trial coming up. So, you see, were someone to enter the premises with ill intent, his identity would be summarily exposed. But, did you not say that the photographic prints were taken at 30-minute intervals? Indeed, as you say, my dear madam. Then, what if the incident were to occur in between the times? One could only say, that would be a cruel twist of fate. I don't know, that's not fate so much it is luck, maybe? I don't know. 30 minutes is a long time. I must confess your devices have been giving me some cause for distress of late. I beg your pardon, Mr. Wintermink. Surely they are anything but distressing. Reassuring is the word. It's the cost of the film, sir. You most graciously placed not one, but 2 cameras in my shop after all. Which means I must pay for nigh on 100 utterly useless prints every single day. I'm afraid the cost of the film will break me before I'm very much older. I guess he didn't think of that. Nevertheless, a small price to pay to ensure the safety of my preferred pawnbroker, you know? My dear fellows, we verge on an age where safety and security come at a price. Oh, heaven help us! Now then, Mr. Sholmes, allow me to return your precious violin. Ah, the very thing. Thank you, Mr. Winterbank. Perhaps this might mark the end of the peculiar items you try to pop, Because if anything were to happen to one of them, this would be the only answer! I really think you ought to stop waving that gun around. Someone could get hurt. Fear not. Sorry? I've only loaded a single bullet, so no one but myself would possibly be harmed. That's not really what I meant. Good day to you then, Mr. Winterbank. It's been a pleasure as always, Mr. Sholmes. I feel like he should sound like he's always about to cry. So, Mr. Naruhodo, now we can explore at last. Alright, I bet there's a lot of things to examine in here. Look at this! What could this lovely big shiny box be? That, my dear madam, is a music box. Surely you have such things in your own country? Oh my, yes, but I've certainly never seen one so large before. Shall we listen a while? Huh. Ah, what a sublime sound. It's like the music of angels. I've never heard anything like it before in my life. This particular specimen is of the larger variety, commonly found in public houses and restaurants. There is a metal disc inside on which notes to be played are recorded. Simply by replacing the disc with another, any music you care to imagine can be played. My goodness, what a simply delightful machine! Indeed, though their popularity has waned recently with the development of the gramophone, of course. Science and technology advance at such an overwhelming pace. Clocks. Hats. Hat rack. The hat rack. The hat ceiling. They're all just hanging there. What an assortment of things are on these shelves here. Crockery, footwear, clocks, and watches. Almost anything you care to imagine. Those are forfeited items, offered for sale by the pawnbroker. What does that really mean, though? When you pawn, or colloquially pop, an item, the broker loans you money against its worth. He stores the item for an agreed period of time, after which the loan must be repaid. If not, he is free to display it in his shop for sale at a price of his choosing. Oh yes, now that you've explained it, I'm noticing little price tags on everything. Of course, simply by paying the agreed interest on the loan, one can extend the period of safekeeping. So, you may pawn that black gold of yours without fear, my dear fellow. My treasured university uniform? Never. It embodies my student spirit. It's not as much to examine here as I thought. There seems to be a little door behind that curtain there. That leads to the storage room, where Mr. Windibank keeps articles that are currently in pawn. Ah, I see. There's nothing of particular interest inside. I certainly wouldn't recommend any larcenous activity. Recommend it or not, it's not something I tend to do. There is but one key, and Mr. Windibank keeps it in his pocket at all times. Before he sleeps, he places it into a small pot which he slides under his pillow. How on earth do you know about that, Mr. Sholmes? I am a detective, sir. It is my business to know what others do not. I am frequently assailed by information that I neither care for nor wish to retain. Yeah, same, me too. That's every day on Twitter. Mr. Sholmes, you are a wonder. And the prime suspect if this pawnbrokery is ever burgled. There's a lot of information I read every single day that I definitely don't want to retain. It's just, it's gone out of my head by the time I see it. No thoughts. No thoughts but world conquest. Look at that enormous ledger open on the counter there. Mr. Windibank is, if nothing else, very particular about recording the items he accepts. He'd have to be, otherwise he'd get himself in all sorts of trouble. Which might explain the thing that catches my eye far more than the ledger. This revolver here. It's for self-defense, he swears. Do not entertain even a single thought of pilfering an article herein, my dear fellow. I assure you, Mr. Windibank would not hesitate to draw that weapon with a speed belying his portly size. Oh, you don't mean he'd... blow his brains out? Indeed, in recompense for his plunder. Wow, that's very blunt. Oh my. But in any case, of course we would never do such a thing. How could you even suggest it? Oh, I already talked to him, okay. He has nothing more to say. Now, what do you suppose this rather enormous machine does? It seems to have two little windows for looking through. Allow me to enlighten you, my dear fellows. What you are looking at is a stereoscope. A stereo... fascinating. It is aptly named, I assure you. Look through the eyepieces and see for yourself. Oh, I should be delighted to. Excuse me a moment while I just have a look. Just before you do, there is something I should point out. My dear fellows, in order to see the image properly, stereoscopically as it were, you will need to be cross-eyed. However, if that is beyond you, it is of little consequence today. Alright then, I'm going to try it. I really wish he had a frame of animation for being cross-eyed. Ah! Mr. Naruhodo, you must see, at once! Oh, alright then. So I need to be cross-eyed, like I'm trying to look at my own nose. I can look at my own nose. It's hard to make my... You can't really see me going cross-eyed. I go cross-eyed sometimes, under certain conditions. Not just when I'm trying to look at my own nose. What is this? What am I looking at? What the? Hey, wasn't that lady on the jury the other trial? I don't believe it. It's just a photographic print, but it seems like you could reach out and touch it. Ooh, the mysteries of the third dimension. Yes, the sense of depth is startling, is it not? I bet that, I bet on the original 3DS version of that game, the effect would be heightened, huh? You'd be looking at that picture in 3D. Stereoscopes are one of London's many fads. They are often found in little stalls in the park. People queue for hours to see them. I don't think so, Ian Abstract. I think that was just probably something that looked better on the 3DS. That made more sense on that console. Why? Why are people meddling with such black magic? It is no magic, my dear madam. It is, well... far too complicated to explain at present. We shall save this lesson for another day. That's his way of hiding he doesn't know. Oh. What else? Anything else? That's not a calendar you could easily miss, is it? 15th of April, today's date. Yes, that's not for sale, I must point out. It is an Eastern-style page-a-day calendar. Every night at midnight, I tear off the front page to reveal the following day's date. The perfect calendar for a tearaway fellow such as yourself, Mr. Winterbank. And who was it who walked out of here with the wrong violin before? Oh, it can work? I didn't actually look at it cross-eyed. I didn't think that would work. Interesting. Well, when the agreed storage period has passed without repayment, articles are forfeited, you see. So I have to keep a close eye on the date. It's something of a pawnbroker's obsession, you might say. Oh, yes. I can see you're very dedicated to your job. Cacti. What is this? What is this on the floor? Look at this! Whatever could it be used for? I have no idea. Ah. There's a small catch just here, look. We're going to open it, aren't we? Oh, what is... Oh my, that's amazing! It has some sort of spring-loaded mechanism, which we'll never manage to put back to the way it was before. What are you two doing? What? Us? Nothing. No, nothing at all. Whatever this device is, it seems to have a pair of little windows to look through. Oh, is this like a portable stereoscope? Feels though I've seen something rather similar to this somewhere. What? Only tuppence for it? That ain't fair, and you know it. The article's barely worth a penny, miss. I cannot offer more. Oh wait, is it Gina again? I recognize Watt. Watt has only been used for one character so far. Sounds like there's an argument brewing over there by the counter. Yeah, she's using the slang from before. Hang on, I have to get my Luke from Professor Layton back on. Oi, Professor! Hello, Professor! Mr. Layton! Okay. Come on, that can't be right. Have you even had a proper butcher's at it? I've seen all I need to see, young girl. Yeah, there she is. Wait, don't we know? I'm sure I recognize her. Oh, yes, it's the young lady from Mr. McGilder's trial 2 months ago. Her name is Gina Lestrade, my lord. She's a chancer, earns her crust among large crowds, relieving people of their purses. What's commonly called a pickpocket. That's right, she pointed a gun at us. That's right, it's Cockney Saberface. Gordon Bennett, you lot. Hello, Miss Lestrade. I hope you've been well. Oh god, she's loading it. Eh, what? You remembered me then, do ya? Well, I remember being completely surrounded by smoke, that's for sure. So, what are you doing in here? Down and out like the rest of us. Nothing to eat? Come to pop that black weasel sorry coat, have ya? What is it about this black uniform that makes everyone comment on it? Ah, good day, unless I'm much mistaken. You would be the young pickpocket who stole our experimental smoke grenade launcher. Ah, Mr. Sholmes! So, you have something of value to pawn, do you? Allow me to see the article and I shall negotiate with Mr. Winterbank on your behalf. Pull the other one. I don't need no help from some stuck-up D. Get out of my business. Go on or I'll make trouble for you. As you wish, Miss Lestrade. I will happily remove myself from your presence. I don't know what slang D means. Might be a slur. I couldn't possibly tell you. He's really done it. He's gone. I'm sorry, but as I said, there really is no room for negotiation here. What is that thing he has in his hand? Some kind of metal disc? And you, go on, leave me alone. Oh, Miss Lestrade, just pretend we aren't here. We shan't offend in the slightest. Yeah, I guess D could be short for detective. Susanna-san can really stand her ground when she wants to. Stare off. Whatever. I like how it's spelled whatever. I'm not gonna ignore you, I'm gonna talk to you. Somehow, I didn't really think you were the sort of person who'd use a pawnbroker, Miss Lestrade. Yeah, well, I am, alright? I'm a Londoner, just like everyone else. Not a problem, is it? No, not at all. It's just that, well... Oh, I get it. I know what you're thinking. That thing probably don't even belong to her. Probably got it on the dive, didn't she? Yeah, I can see it written all over your Chevy face. Sorry, your Chevy Chase. Well, I might have been thinking about something along those lines. You're not going to deny it, Mr. Naruhodo? Alright then, I'm just going to come out and ask you straight. Do you pawn things that you steal from other people? Well, I don't know how best to answer that, really, Suppose, sometimes. You're not going to deny it either, Miss Lestrade? But not this time, alright, I swear! That thing belongs to me! The disc that Mr. Windibank is holding? Perhaps we should see what he has to say about all this. Talk to me, Largeman. Mr. Windibank, what exactly is this metal disc that Miss Lestrade has brought in? It seems to have hundreds of tiny little bumps on its surface. Ah, this is a music disc, you see, for use inside a music box. In a music box? Ah yes, the original CD. What, you don't even know what a music box is? You Eastern Lord ain't too savvy, eh? I know what a music box is, I've just never seen one of these discs before. The small protrusions on the metal disc encode the tune to be played by the music box. You simply insert the disc and set the machine going, and beautiful music plays. It's so incredible. Tell us, what tune is on the disc? Well, I'm afraid I couldn't tell you that. There are so many different types of music box, you see. British-made, German, Swiss. I have no way of knowing which particular machine this disc was made for. Ah, I see. And that's it in a nutshell. I wouldn't have any customers for an item like this, even if the young lady forfeited it. Really, I'm already offering more than I should at a penny. That's a packet of lies. He told me he did. He said it was, well... He? Who? Never you mind. It just ain't right, that's all. That disc's with good money, you know it is. Well then, you'll have to try your luck at another pawnbroker's, won't you? Ah. She's been in before, of course, this little tatterdemalion. I've never heard that one before either, tatterdemalion? I see, and brought some dubious articles or other with her every single time, I might add. Dubious? What are you trying to say? I'm an honest customer, me. So, is there something dubious about the disc you brought in today? Well, if only it were that simple. Sorry, what do you mean? What she actually brought in was a storage ticket. Ah, a storage ticket. So, Miss Lestrade has actually come to redeem an article from you today, is that right? Yeah, that's right. A girl like me has a lot of stuff what needs storing. Alright, yes, that's definitely dubious. Yeah, she's like a street urchin. What would she have a music box disc for? The article in question would have been forfeited at midnight tonight. But as she gave me the ticket for it and repaid both the loan and the interest, I was obliged to return the article to her. But what was the article? Do tell us, Mr. Windibank. The little scamp is wearing it, ma'am. It's the overcoat that she redeemed. Oh, wait. Oh, I thought it was the disc she redeemed. She's trying to sell the disc at the same time she redeemed her coat. What? What's wrong with that? It fits, don't it? I mean, it's mine, so of course it does. So, what about the disc, then? How does that come into all of this? Ah, the disc is something else. A new article to pawn if the girl and I can agree on a price. I'm confused. I thought you said that Miss Lestrade brought in a storage ticket today. It's really quite simple. Yes, the child bought me a storage ticket and the money owed on it, as you say. For this heavy black coat, which you returned to her care as I had understood it. That's right, yes. And rather unsurprisingly... Excuse me. Sorry. It's really hot lately, minions, and the heat makes me sleepy. I will power through, though, because I really want to play more of this game. That's right, yes, and rather unsurprisingly, as soon as the little ragamuffin put the thing on, she went rifling through the pockets. Oh, you mean... What? Don't you know it's rude to stare at a lady? Ah, I see. So it came from the pocket of the overcoat, did it? If you mean this disc, then yes, exactly, ma'am. Oh, I thought it was bigger than that. I guess it's small enough to fit in a pocket. And she immediately tried to pawn it. For quite a high price as well. This is all rather suspicious, I think. Give it up. I'm just trying to pawn something like anyone else would. Miss Lestrade, may I ask who deposited the overcoat here in the first place? Well, me. It doesn't really appear to be your size. Me old man! It's me old man's, ain't it? Is it Miss Lestrade? Yes, this is definitely all rather suspicious. Get out of my way, please. I haven't determined it. Oh, fancy man. Ooh, look at this fancy guy. I have to think of a voice for him. He's got like he's got Zappelli's hat. He's gonna punch a frog or something. He does look very racist. He's gonna say something terrible to us in a second. I'm sure of it. Who's this picture postcard English gentleman? All right, hang on. I gotta think of. Oh, he's got a cane and everything. Trim and fit this guy. All right. I gotta let me picture this man's voice in my head. I'm formulating. It's gotta be like smooth, right? He's young looking. Okay, I think I got it. Good day to you, ladies, gentlemen. What's your problem, eh? There is no problem, as long as you remove yourself. I have a matter to discuss with the proprietor. And if you intend to make a problem of it, I shall see you outside, little girl, for the hiding you deserve. Oh my god. This guy's like, I'm gonna beat you to death with my cane. Look, ain't it obvious? I ain't done talking with him yet. If you think you're such a gent, you should know how to wait in line. Well, you are an impudent little brat, aren't you? As well as a pickpocket. Eh? Who are you? How do you know who I am? The question is, how do you not know who I am? You haven't the courtesy even to remember the faces of your victims, it seems. Ah, what? You mean from you? Broker! Yes, sir. I believe this filthy pocket thief has just redeemed an article from you, no? Yes, the article in question belongs to me. I demand for it to be returned at once. Oh my. Now that's a lie. What are you trying to pull? Give me back my overcoat, you wastrel, and needless to say... This dude's... He's JoJo posing at her. I told you he's the Pelly. And music box discs, too. No, you can't have it. You just can't. It's me old man's, or it was, and now it's mine. Goodness, Mr. Naruhodo. This is a very awkward situation. Yes, I think perhaps we should hear both sides of the story in a little more detail. Miss Lestrade, is what the gentleman is saying... What do you think? It's all lies, ain't it? Obviously. I swear on my life, I ain't ever laid eyes on that dandy before. Let's hear it now, you little ragamuffin. You stole it, didn't you? That ticket you brought in here just now? No, I swear it. I swear to God. It was barely an hour ago. I was walking along the street, minding my own business, when this little gutterling ran into me. I knew at once what had happened. I've been robbed yet again, I thought to myself. Those wretched pickpockets. Yet again? Oh yes, as you can see, I am a man of impeccable style. You say so, dude. I'm a man of impeccable style. I don't know about you, Mr. Checkerboard. This isn't the first time that I've been targeted by those black slum scoundrels. Now then, relinquish my overcoat. Yeah. Come along now, Mr. Lestrade. Give the gentleman his coat back. You're going to cause trouble. I shall have no choice but to call the police. Hold on, why does everyone think it's me? Just look at this dandy cove, and you think I'm the dodgy one? I am sorry, but no one's going to believe you. You're a woman in 20th century England, you little silly. Well, what about evidence? Yeah. Where's your evidence that I've stolen something, eh? Come on, let's see it. Oh, I have evidence, naturally. You what? Hang on, I need to go through this dialogue again really quick. She is a poor woman, yeah. There we go. Sorry, I realized I have to screen cap that. Evidence that the article Miss Lestrade redeemed actually belongs to this gentleman. Of course! We need only consult Mr. Windibank's ledger to know the truth. We'll be able to look up the name of the person who deposited the article in the first place. Yes, brilliant! I'm very sorry, but I'm afraid that won't be possible. Oh! I never ask customers' names. That's a strict policy of mine. But why not? Well now, as you can imagine, some of my customers have circumstances to consider. A great many of them to prefer to maintain their anonymity. Yes, I see. But then how can you know if an article belongs to the person asking to redeem it? Oh, it's quite simple. Good sir, might I trouble you for the watchword associated with the article in question? Of course, it's... Gotta do a pose first. Professor. Yes, that's right. And all the evidence we need. The gentleman is the rightful owner of the article, without doubt. A watchword? Interesting. Remember your safe words, minions. So, about these watchwords, Mr. Windibank, As I just explained, I never ask customers' names when they deposit items with me. There are many reasons why. Certain customers would like to keep their activities secret. That wasn't what is he doing? Oh my god. That wasn't exactly a subtle glance at Mr. Sholmes now, was it? Great detectives have no dark secrets. None at all. Yes, well, anyway, that's why I always ask for a watchword whenever I accept a new article. In many ways, it's like the secret combination of numbers used to unlock a vault. The date of deposit, a description, and a watchword uniquely identify each item. And of course, then I give the storage ticket to the customer. When someone comes to redeem something, I ask for the ticket and the watchword. And if that someone tells you the correct watchword, you return the article? That's right, sir. Yes, just as soon as the requisite fee is paid. And I have supplied you with the information you require already. But for the avoidance of doubt, this article in question is an overcoat deposited 2 months ago on 15th of February. With a watchword of Professor. All perfectly correct information, sir. But ow! Really, this is beyond a joke now. There's no further room for doubt. Oh, he's gone. Excuse me, but who are you? One would expect the Inquirer to introduce himself first. No, you know, Ian Abstract, that's a good question. Did Lestrade know the watchword? Though clearly you are not British, so perhaps our ways are foreign to you. Oh, sorry, yes, we're from the Empire of Japan. We're studying here. Oh yes, Japan. I've heard talk of the place. What? He's the fucking guy's grooving. Its inhabitants live on some fiery brown-colored soup dressed up with exotic spices. You might be thinking of somewhere else. And what was that theatrical gesticulation about? Perhaps. Anyway, if you are a gentleman, sir, you offer your own name first before inquiring after the name of another. Of course, yes. I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I'm a lawyer. Well, a student of law, really. My name is Susato Mikotoba. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's assistant. I see. My name is Benedict. Yes, Egbert Benedict. Fucking of course. You can't name a guy Benedict without his first name being Egbert. What are you thinking? Enchant. He's so refined in how he holds himself and how he speaks, but that name is suspicious. Now, to the matter at hand. This guy's schmoovin'. My overcoat. Return it at once to someone with the style to carry it off. Every move he makes, every breath he takes. Every move you make. I can't stand watching him. To be fair, he does look much better in it. So, let there be an end to the matter. You think he's Moriarty? That would be interesting. And thank you for your custom, Mr. Egbert Benedict, sir. That's an interesting theory, Kaskin. I guess it is inevitable that Moriarty would be in anything Sherlock related, right? With such reasonable rates of interest, I may even decide to come back. Aw, she looks so sad without her coat. This is why I hate grown-ups. Just 'cause I'm a diver, everyone thinks that makes me a liar. And the contents of the coat pockets, if you please, broker. But of course, sir, here's the disc for you. Just this one? Pardon, sir? I was expecting another. That is, I deposited another. Oh, caught you slipping. Another disc? Oh dear. I regret to inform you, sir, that what was deposited with me was merely the overcoat. The disc happened to be in one of the pockets, but I was completely unaware of it until now. So, Gutterling, you're hiding more of what's rightfully mine, are you? Says who, eh? I don't know nothing about it. Very well. Then I shall bid you farewell. Say goodbye to style. Wait a minute, that disc is mine. Holy shit. Ah, what do you think you're doing, you little tramp? You've drawn blood, you filthy animal. Oh my, yes. There's blood on the disc. It's because of all those sharp little bumps. The man must have scratched his finger on them. I found it first, alright? I mean, it belonged to me old man. Why does Benedict look like Kiriyoshi Kage? He does a little bit, huh? It's the blonde hair and blue eyes. A little bit Bowie-esque. Yeah, he is wearing gloves. There's no, like, tear on his gloves unless we examine them a little bit later. So you're not having it. Or you take it. Me? If I hang on to it, they'll have it off me again. So you keep hold of it. Miss Lestrade, why is this disc so important to her? Metal disc used to play music in a mechanical box. A piece of music, which remains unidentified, is stored on the disc by means of small protrusions. You there, in the black livery. Hand that disc over to me at once, please. No, don't! He's lying! Grown-ups are all liars! What do I do now? How am I going to resolve this? There's a lot going on here. Let me guess. There he is. Hello. Mr. Sholmes, what are you examining with such keen interest there? Are you... as you enjoy a bar of caramel, I see. He's doing the Akuma pose. So, you found me at last, Mr. Naruhodo. Sorry? After that young pickpocket sent me on my way, I was forced to look in the shadows. Cruelly ostracized, the rest of you took part in the jovial atmosphere of fellowship. I had nothing to occupy my mind, but was too ashamed to let society see what my downfall had done to me. It seems I miscalculated. 1,000 deaths. So, feigning mock interest, I pretended to examine the tedious trinkets in this desolate place, whilst, as you shrewdly observed, gnawing on the only friend I have left, this 7% solution of caramel. Pray, do you claim to understand the depths of my despair, Mr. Naruhodo? How could you? I was so lonely, so desperately lonely. Oh, he's crying out for my company, is he? I always knew. Then, why on earth didn't you rejoin the conversation? Things have gone from bad to worse here, you know. Yes, I overheard much of your conversation. Or rather, in my craving for human contact, my ears devoured every word that was uttered. You really were sad, weren't you? Poor Mr. Sholmes, I feel simply awful for you. It would seem that my inferences are correct. Oh, surely you're not about to tell us that you've solved the entire case once again? My dear madam, sometimes I wonder, were my genius for deductions to be commoditized, how much would I pawn it for? Not very much, I think. It seems Mr. Sholmes has had another of his flashes of inspiration, but who knows if it will help to resolve the situation between Miss Lestrade and the mysterious gentleman. What's the right thing to do here? Let's hear it. It'll be funny, at least. Well, Miss Lestrade, it would appear you find yourself in something of a predicament. Tisk, where's the blue blazes have you been, eh? Pardon? When a lady's in trouble, a true gent's supposed to be there to help. When a lady, not an hour later... Harsh. And who, pray tell, are you? You have, in my eyes, a veritably encyclopedic array of curiosities about your person. Nevertheless, there are two immovable conclusions I have drawn. I beg your pardon? The first is this. The true reason for your visit to this pawnbrokery today is something you have not yet revealed. And the second is this. A considerable crime is in contemplation, one you will orchestrate with intent to steal a vast sum of money. Well, Mr. Benedict, what say you to my deductions? How? He's turned as white as a hard-boiled egg. It would seem that once again, Mr. Sholmes has made a flawless deduction. Just who do you think you are, sir? Ah, yes, as I hoped. That is precisely the pained expression I was looking for. So, shall we begin? The time has come for yet another Sherlock Sholmes' logic and reasoning spectacular. The Great Deduction. The game is afoot. Topic 1. Mystery Man's aim. First of all, we must ask ourselves on what business you ventured to this pawnbrokery today. You claim to have followed this pickpocket here, having had the redemption ticket stolen from you on the street. But that is most certainly a lie. The real truth is something quite different. As revealed by that which you hold in your hand. Yes, what brought you to this shop in the first place is the staff recruitment flyer. That doesn't seem right. The piece of paper in your hand is a staff wanted advertisement from this very shop. Yet even the most unobservant would soon realize that a man of your appearance has no need of such employ. In other words, there is some ulterior motive for your actions. The cane with which you unwittingly clutch to your person exhibits an incontrovertible contradiction. What utter rot! I've had this cane for years. The contradiction of which I speak is, of course, the missing tear-rule. Or ferrule, sorry, I thought that was the T. The end of any walking cane would be terminated with a metal ferrule to protect the wooden tip. And yet detailed analysis shows the wooden tip of this stick to be utterly bare. Therefore, there's only one conclusion. The rod that you hold in your hand, which appears to be a walking cane, is in fact no cane at all. You recoil, sir. Is something wrong? And in your recoiling, you have inadvertently facilitated the answer of the next conundrum to present itself. Namely, what is the truth behind this rod you bear? Yes, your reaction betrays the truth. The handle, which you evidently would like to conceal, is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. From the moment I saw it, my suspicions were aroused. What walking cane demands such a stout handle, mused I. I don't think that's quite the right logic. But of course, as I said, this is no walking cane. No, that rod is the broken handle of a shovel. What? Are you insane? And now, having determined this undeniable truth, the conclusion is clear. Your true motive for coming here was to take employment at this establishment in order to excavate the ground beneath the premises. What a calculated crime you have conceived, sir. A wickedly calculated crime. Conclusion? To tunnel underneath the pawnbrokery. That seems really stupid. Topic 2. The Great Crime. Now, Mr. Benedict, let us continue. for we must expose the details of this elaborate crime you have in the planning. This is utterly absurd. You suggest that I, a gentleman, intend to excavate the ground beneath this pawnbrokery with a wooden shovel? What on earth do you propose I could find to extract there? Hoo-hoo! He's doing like Michael Jackson moves. Some long-forgotten treasure, I suppose. Save for such a fanciful theory, what possible reason could I have to do as you say? Oh, but there is ample reason. As you are only too well aware, Mr. Benedict. Ah, and your furtive glance is more telling than I could have hoped. What? Let us consider what would motivate a man to infiltrate such a shop as this and covertly dig beneath its floor. The answer is revealed by the council notice on the counter to which your eyes were inadvertently drawn. The letter gives you notice of public works to be carried out in the local area. And according to the enclosed plan of the upcoming sewerage works, beneath this shop runs a sewer that adjoins one another, one that runs underneath the bank of the opposite side of the road. This madness has entered the sewers now, has it? By excavating the ground beneath our feet, you would gain access to the waterway. That flows in very close proximity to the great vault of the financial institution opposite. What are you? In summary, sir, you devised a master plan to pull off an elaborate bank robbery by dint of the underground tunnels. Master plan? Spirit. Which brings us to the final chapter of this lurid scheme. With what plunder did the thief hope to make off from the underground vault of the bank? Are you quite serious? Having consulted with Scotland Yard some days ago, I happen to know the answer. But naturally, the answer is no secret to you, is it, Mr. Benedict? I have no idea what you're talking about. Allow me to present a rather interesting piece of evidence. You see, this picture postcard tells us all we need to know. A postcard of the Great Exhibition. I'm afraid you've quite lost me. Currently in the final stages of preparation, the Great Exhibition will soon be underway. And the government has provided extra funds to complete its centerpiece, the Crystal Tower. Do they have cat boys in there? I can only hope. Funds that currently sit in the vault for the bank on the other side of this road. Pardon? Yes, the considerable crime that you've been contemplating is the theft of that which sits in the vault of the bank, the special reserve funds for the Great Exhibition. Of course, that is top secret police information, so keep it under your hat, please. Oh, good one. To steal the Great Exhibition's reserve funds. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of the pawnbroking puzzle. Mr. Sholmes. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, an impressively upbeat deduction for a detective racked with loneliness, would you not agree? Was it true what you said about the bank over the road and what it has in its vault? Indeed, though few know of its existence, it is one of the government's most closely guarded secrets. Gregson told me in the strictest confidence, so he just blabbed about it to everybody. But you just announced it to everyone here, rather loudly in fact. Ah, and if it's such a big secret, how would Mr. Benedict have come to find out about it? There can be but one explanation for that. Clearly it is because the man is a criminal. But what if he didn't know anything about the money in the vault? If he is a criminal, as you said, then buying a brand new shovel is sure to be the first thing he does now that you've revealed the secret. Oh, Or if he doesn't, maybe Mr. Windibank will. He already has plenty of shovels here, after all. On my life, I assure you I'm not so unscrupulous. Well, perhaps this has taught you a valuable lesson. Sensitive information must be handled with the utmost of care. One can never be sure that someone privy to secrets won't disclose them, and once the word is out, it's out. Perhaps I'll think twice before confiding in you next time, Mr. Sholmes. An excellent idea, Mr. Naruhodo. An excellent idea. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, you know what to do, I'm sure. Yes, let's listen to that great deduction again and see if we can massage it into shape. Very well then, let us start once more from the beginning. Of Hodok Sholmes' magnificent logic and reasoning spectacular. Course correction. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Let's start with topic 1. I'm not reading it all again. You can read it. I believe you can read, minions. I'm sure of it. That doesn't seem right. We gotta fix it. So, by Mr. Sholmes' reasoning, Mr. Benedict came here in order to apply for a job so he could dig down through the floor. Yes, in an attempt to tunnel into the sewers to gain access to the money in the vault of the bank across the road. But he wouldn't get very far with a broken shovel, would he? No, I think it's fair to say his motives lie elsewhere. The question is, where? What did bring Mr. Benedict here at this particular point in time? That's a proper English gentleman's cane, isn't it? Look at the beautifully polished brass on the handle. Yes, but Mr. Sholmes is right. It's not the sort of handle you usually see on a cane. Perhaps it's the latest London fashion. I mean, that's just guesswork, of course. Perhaps you could adopt a cane, Mr. Naruhodo. It might rather suit you. I have a feeling I might argue with the sword around my waist. Should get one of those sword canes. You know, the cane you take the tip off and there's a sword in there? It certainly is a flyer for Mr. Windibank's shop. Let's see. Windibanks wants you. Pawnbroker's assistant required. It's an eye-catching advertisement, that's for sure. I've seen the same flyer up here inside the shop, I think. Perhaps Mr. Windibank is always in need of more staff. So Mr. Benedict came here to apply for a job? Oh, sleepy, sorry. Oh. That's just too hard to believe. There's a lot of stuff to look at in here. But I think it should be on him. That silk top hat is wider than white. Only an English gentleman could hope to carry off something so bright. But it looks so incongruous with the black overcoat, don't you think? Perhaps it's the latest London fashion. I mean, that's just guesswork, of course. How about it, Mr. Naruhodo? I think you'd look very fetching in a white top hat. Well, you know, I think it might look rather incongruous with my black university uniform, so... I'm not allowed to wear different clothes. I'm a protagonist. I think it's probably the cane, right? Maybe if I examine the letters on it. No, there's nothing on the back of the flyer. Oh wait, there are. There is, sorry. Oh! Look at all the scribbled notes on the back of the flyer here. I like the little drawing. I don't believe it. What is it? Listen to what it says. Name, Gina Lestrade. Height, 5'2". Green cap, scruffy waistcoat, grubby white shirt, blue satchel, ragged. It's a detailed description of Miss Lestrade. Goodness. There's even a sketch of her, hat and all. Although if he showed it to her, she'd fire that smoke grenade launcher in his face for sure. And look, the details of the shop have been written down here, too. Winnebank's Pawnbrokery, Baker Street, redemption deadline, 15th of April. Which is today's date? Why would Mr. Benedict have all that information scrawled on the back of that piece of paper? It probably is her coat, then.
Take that!
Yes, what brought you to this shop in the first place is the info about Miss Lestrade. Quite so, my dear fellow. It would appear that the writing and sketch on the reverse side of the flyer pertain to the pickpocket, Miss Lestrade, and to Mr. Winnebank's pawnbrokery here. Ah. You originally told us that you had merely given chase after Miss Lestrade stole the redemption ticket from you. But that, sir, is a thinly veiled lie. I love all the camera angles in these sequences. They're so fun. It is the information on the back of the flyer that led you here today, by which I mean here to Winnebank's Pawnbrokery, and today the redemption deadline of that overcoat. So, you waited outside for the young girl matching the description you have written down to arrive. Humph. And you have gone to some lengths to hide the reason for your pursuit of Miss Lestrade. In other words, there is some ulterior motive for your actions. The cane... sorry, my voice. The cane in which you unwittingly clutched to your person exhibits an incontrovertible contradiction. I'm gonna say the contradiction is the letters. Right? Because they're not his initial. What's a ferrule? It's the metal cap commonly found on the end of a cane, Mr. Naruhodo. It's like the aglet. Ah, the bit that makes the nice clacking sound on the pavement. Yes, exactly. And Mr. Sholmes is right. It appears to be missing on this cane. But it doesn't actually look broken, does it? No, it doesn't. Though the gentleman certainly did recoil when Mr. Sholmes identified the cane as suspicious. In other words, there's some secret about the cane that Mr. Benedict would rather we don't know. It's definitely the initialing. Look here, Miss Sasato. There are some letters on the handle. Ah, yes. Those must be initials, I think. In the West, it's customary for people to engrave their belongings with the first letters of their names. So, Herlock Sholmes would be HS, you mean? That's right. And the initials on this cane, obviously. Oh, a G? Why does it feel as though that's not quite right? Yeah, it's gotta be the initials. They're not his initials. A gamer? Oh no. We already talked about how this guy's gonna say slurs. Excuse me. The contradiction of which I speak, of course, is the initialing. A most astute observation, wouldn't you say, Mr. Agate Benedict? We are led to believe, sir, that your initials are EB. So, in a most possessive manner, you have in your grasp a cane bearing the initials AG. An incontrovertible contradiction indeed, would you not agree? No, you're wrong. This cane isn't... You said before that you'd had the cane for years. Ugh. So don't try to tell us that you just borrowed it from a friend or found it in the park. In short, though you hold yourself to be a gentleman, you have withheld your true nature. Your name, sorry, not nature. Your recoil, sir, is something wrong. And in your recoiling, you inadvertently facilitate the answer of the next conundrum to present itself. Namely, what is the truth behind this rod you bear? Yes, your reaction betrays the truth. The handle, which you evidently would like to conceal, is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. Let's consider the bare bones of what's happened here. Miss Lestrade redeemed that fine-looking overcoat. And now a mysterious man has appeared, introducing himself with a fake name, and claiming that the overcoat belongs to him. But we know that he actually identified Miss Lestrade from a written description, which suggests that everything else he's told us is untrue. So what we need to do here is somehow prove that the overcoat cannot possibly belong to him. Maybe there's some sort of tag on the overcoat that identifies its owner. Oh, a little rip. I did hear a ripping sound earlier when he recoiled. Oh, the seam on the shoulder there is coming apart, look! So it is. Do you know, a moment ago when Mr. Benedict was surprised by something that was said, I thought I heard him make a rather strange noise. It sounded a bit like a tiny growl. Now that I think it was probably the sound of the seam ripping open. If you look closely, it does seem to be a very tight fit. The sleeves are stretched to bursting, and he wouldn't have a hope of fastening it at the front. If he were to run around in it, I'm sure the thing would fall apart. That I'd like to see. Sorry? So how can we make Mr. Benedict run around? She's really giving this some thought. Is there something you'd like us to know?
Take that!
The split seam, which you evidently would like to conceal, is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. Ah. Yes, because the overcoat is rather obviously a poor fit. Having forced it over your broad shoulders, the seam is already breaking apart. My suspicions were aroused from the outset. They're ganging up on this guy. When you so boldly lied about your name and so boldly waylaid this pickpocket. Ah. This catalogue of untruths has all been for one very specific purpose. To steal the article that the young girl redeemed from Mr. Winterbank. Ah. But what really irks me is this. The considerable crime I initially imagined has been considerably curtailed. It's like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck you're doing now. Conclusion to abscond with a residue item. I don't think he got it swole. You suggest that I, a gentleman, designed a wheeze to filch some tawdry article of pawnage. Have you forgotten that I redeemed the article in the proper manner, using the watchword? Had I not been the one to deposit it in the first place, how could I possibly have known the relevant details, n'est-ce pas? Oh, but the watchword can be discovered. As you are the only well too aware, Mr. Benedict. Ah, and your furtive glance is more telling than I could have hoped. What? Let us consider how one might come to learn a secret watchword relating to the pawn property of another. The direction of the deduction must change rather dramatically now, I think. Yes, no more talk of tunneling into the sewers. Which is a pity, because it all sounded rather exciting. Anyway, you can't deny that this mysterious gentleman did know the watchword. Yes, Professor. If you didn't know that word, Mr. Winterbank would never allow you to redeem the article. Or, looking at it another way, if you did know what that word was, Mr. Winterbank would allow you to redeem the article whether it was yours or not. So the question is, could this gentleman have found the watchword out somehow? Sorry. Baker Street Works is the title. Yes, and it does mention Sewerage Works, as Mr. Sholm said. I was taking a sippy there. Oh, and specifically mentions that tonight's sale at the confectionery shop on the corner won't be affected. Case solving first, confectionery later, Mr. Naruhodo. Curse my overly expressive face. So I don't think it's a council note. What's this photo here? It looks like a cat, but I can't examine it. This is Mr. Winnebank's gun. Yes, loaded with only one bullet, he said. It would appear that being a pawnbroker is a very life-or-death profession. That might just be this particular establishment. Oops. Okay, what is this? The notelet. Look at this, Mrs. Otto. Ah, it appears to be a memo that Mr. Winnebank has scribbled to himself. Let's see. What does it say? Oh, Professor. He just... The man wrote his password and post-it noted it to his monitor. Good job. Mr. Winnebank must make a note of the watchwords that his customers give him right before their eyes. And an alarmingly clear script as well. Oh dear, I don't know where to look. Who knows what other secrets I might see? Yeah, it's definitely gotta be this then.
Take that!
The method is revealed by the notelet on the counter to which your eyes were inadvertently drawn. Yes, the broker here follows the same procedure whenever a customer comes to redeem an article. He asks the customer for their watchword and notes down the response uttered on a notelet he has to hand. Then he consults his ledger and confirms whether or not the watchword matches that of the article in question. I would expect nothing less of a diligent pawnbroker. But his diligence clearly has its disadvantages. What are you talking about? It is increasingly apparent that you were present in this shop before your accusation against Miss Lestrade. In all likelihood, you followed her inside and then observed her talking to Mr. Winnebank. Then, when the diligent broker made a note of the watchword, as is his common practice, you observed him writing the word Professor on the notelet beside the ledger. Oi, Professor! And that, sir, was the master plan you devised to steal the pawned article from the young Miss Lestrade. Master plan? Well, maybe it's another professor who wears the large top hat, who has an assistant with a very similar accent as Gina. Which brings us at last into the final chapter of this lurid scheme. Why would you go to such lengths to redeem that particular article from this pawnbroker? Are you quite serious? For an ill-fitting overcoat hardly seems to justify the effort, much less a worthless music box disc. But naturally, you had very good reason to make them yours, didn't you, Mr. Benedict? I have no idea what you're talking about. Allow me to present a rather interesting piece of evidence. You see, this picture postcard tells us all we need to know. The articles we're talking about are the overcoat and the music box disc that was in one of the pockets, which according to Mr. Winnebank isn't even worth a penny. And yet this man went to such lengths to steal them. Why? I wonder if perhaps we already have the evidence we need to explain it, Mr. Naruhodo. Could we? Really? I'd better have a thorough look through all the evidence we've collected so far. I mean, we only have 2. Look at all the little bumps on the disc. They're so tiny. Yes, the protrusions are called pins, and they pluck the teeth of the comb to make notes. And just on the edge, there's a small amount of blood. Yes, the blood of all the mysterious Mr. Eggert Benedict. When excuse me. Sorry. When Miss Lestrade tried to grab the disc from him, the pin scratched his fingers, it seems. Like when you're grating some daikon radish and accidentally catch your finger. Oh, I love that animation, daikon. Ouch. Just thinking about it hurts and puts me off eating radish. Something on the back? Oh. For McGilded? Ooh, intrigue. McGilded was the defendant who was burned to death after the second case. Or the third case, I should say. Oh, there's a little scrap of paper stuck onto the reverse side of the disc. Look! And a scribbled word or two. It looks like somebody's name. For McGilded. McGilded? It couldn't be. But it is, Mr. Naruto. A name I shall never forget for as long as I live. But why? Why is his name on this? Yeah, it's gotta be the McGilded disc. You see, this music box disc tells us all we need to know. What's that on the back? It reads, for McGilded. Ah! Ah, Mr. Magnus McGilded, the unfortunate philanthropist who perished in curious circumstances at the Old Bailey 2 months ago. I knew it would all wrap around. I knew it wouldn't just end there. A prominent man in London, though his loan-mongering demonstrated a distinct lack of scruples. So, you're an associate of his, are you? Or perhaps a subordinate? Mr. McGilded was a man of unusually small stature. In fact, he was precisely the right size for that overcoat that you've squeezed yourself into. Ugh! Your true identity remains shrouded in mystery, Mr. Eggert Benedict. The final conclusion here is crystal clear. The reason you came to this pawnbrokery today... Oh yeah, do the spin. Spin! Was to retrieve an article left behind by the late Magnus McGilded. Tisk! Ah! Conclusion? To acquire an item deposited by Mr. McGilded. Solved. We solved it. Deduction complete. Elementary. Well, well, Mr. Magnus McGilded. Not a name I expected to hear in these circumstances. Mr. Sholmes, I'm afraid there's something very troubling on my mind. Pray tell, Miss Susato. Well, according to what Mr. Windibank told us earlier, today was the final day on which the coat would have been redeemed, was it not? Yes, ma'am, that is correct. Today would be precisely 2 months since it was first deposited. So that would mean he deposited the coat and the music discs on the day of his death. Well, today is April 15th, so 2 months ago today would have been 15th February, sir, that's right. It's all carefully recorded in my ledger. Deposited at 10:30 p.m., I see. What? But that suggests... Yes, 15th February is precisely the day on which the omnibus murder took place. And 10:30 in the evening is precisely the time at which the terrible events were unfolding. Suggestive is not the word. It would seem the matter is entirely beyond coincidence. So, someone, either McGilded or someone for him, deposited this coat with a music disc that belonged to McGilded on the night the murder he was accused of took place. You are, of course, at liberty to make whatever outlandish deductions you choose. However... Whoa, fuck! Holy shit. He's packing. I must insist you hand over the music box now. It would be a terrible shame for you to return to your native land in a box. Ah, what do I do? Oh my god, is he gonna... Alright, hang on. Let me save in case he actually just shoots me. People have had a lot of guns in this game, it's true. There are some things a man must protect at all costs. This may well be one of those things. Then again, it may not. Oh, that's right, he has a gun. Mr. Windibank. This is my shop. I can't allow any harm to come to my customers. If that were to happen, I should have to take my own life. Mr. Windibank, no. Alright, that's enough. Oh, it's Gregson. Inspector Gregson. Inspector? That's right, Sunshine. The alarm was raised on one of our dedicated emergency lines. So we got here as fast as we could. Now, what's all this about, eh? Oh, praise be, you're here at last! I was moments away from forfeiting my own life in my very own establishment. It would seem you have the upper hand. What, are they just gonna let him go? Right, you lot have got some explaining to do. I don't appreciate being bothered with some petty argy-bargy. Petty? Mr. Windibank very nearly met with his end. Yeah, by his own gun, as far as I can tell. The only thing that could stop a bad guy with a gun is a pawnbroker willing to shoot himself. That seems quite right, Iron Abstract. That's how that saying goes, I think. Oh dear. And the whole of Britain would meet with its end if I don't get to the bottom of the case I'm supposed to be working on. What? What on earth is the case, Inspector? Spare no detail, Gregson. I might have said a little too much. No matter, it's nothing to do with you lot. Anyway, sir, you're gonna have to come with me down to the station. But of course, Inspector. He spins away. He's like Top Man. Away I go. He's getting away. After him, lads. Whistle the beat officer, too. Sir. Speed. There's been a spate of thefts at pawn shops round here recently, so we've fitted emergency buttons underneath the counters for brokers to let us know when there's been trouble. Oh, Inspector, I was very worried there for a while, very worried indeed. Now then, Mr. Permanently in Mourning. Oh, yes? I'll be taking that whatever it is of McGilded's down to the yard, thank you very much. So hand it over. Oh, yes, of course. No, don't give it to him, it's mine, that is, mine. I'm sorry, miss, but anything belonging to McGilded has to be taken in as evidence now. As evidence? The police demand something as evidence, my dear fellow. We have no choice but to capitulate. It's all yours, Inspector. Ah. Poor Gina. She gets all her stuff taken from her. As much stuff as she takes from other people, I guess. And so, we handed over Mr. McGilded's disc over to Inspector Gregson. And were summarily turfed out of the shop and onto the street. To be continued, huh? It's called civil forfeiture? Oh, no. Now that's the real crime. Let's save my progress. Let me think. Yes, I've made a decision, minions. I hate to do this to you, but I'm afraid the 90-degree weather at 8 p.m. is getting to me a bit. So, it's making me very tired. And that is not a conducive environment for being both evil, sexy, and reading things out loud. So I think we'll pick up the rest of the investigation tomorrow and maybe start the trial as well. We'll see where this goes. Fifth cases are usually pretty long. That's why I set aside 3 days for it. So we'll see how it goes. I don't think we're not on track though. We did finish something of significance, I think. Um, so if you liked what you watched, and also I would like to thank everybody for all the follows tonight. We got Fragility and Eris Valentino themselves. The funny little unicorn. Who's just so funny, so funny. I want to kick their shins. Free Rebs, thank you for the subscription. Innocent Bystander as well. And as well for following Free Rebs. Thank you. I appreciate you all. And if you liked what you watched, consider joining the Discord, where you can keep up on all our happenings. Join the Rose Rabbit Army in our inevitable conquest of this tiny little world. So, I'll see you guys tomorrow for more of this case, which is getting more intriguing by the second, I have to say. We're getting back to the Mr. McGilded plot point, so we'll see what happens. Thank you very much, everybody. I'll see you then. Good night.